Billionaire saw a single mom sleeping in her car at Starbucks parking lot with two kids inside. She looked him dead in the eye and said the 6 words that would haunt a billionaire for the rest of his life. He was worth $11 billion. She was living in a 1997 Honda Civic with two kids in the back seat. He thought he was helping. She thought he was judging. "What do you want?" he asked her, expecting her to beg. She didn't cry, didn't plead, just stared at him with the kind of exhaustion money can't buy and whispered, "A front door my kids can lock at night." Nothing else. Just that. Now here's the thing that'll mess with your head. This woman was sleeping in parking lots, washing her children's faces in gas station bathrooms, and still getting them to school on time with straight A report cards. While across town, this man was eating $100 steaks in an empty penthouse, wondering why success felt like suffocation. So when he finally figured out what was happening in that car, he had two choices: walk away like everyone else had, or do something that would either save her family or destroy what little dignity she had left. And what he decided, it didn't just change their lives. It exposed a truth about wealth and poverty that nobody wants to admit. Here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. This isn't a fairy tale. This is about what happens when two people from completely different worlds collide in the most unexpected place imaginable. And if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever wondered whether anyone actually sees the battles you're fighting in silence, this story is going to hit different. Have you ever driven past someone and assumed you knew their story? Made a judgment in 3 seconds flat, based on what you could see through a car window? Yeah, we all have. But what if I told you that the person you dismissed, the one you thought had given up, was actually fighting harder than you've ever fought for anything in your entire life? That's what this is about. The problem isn't just poverty. It's not just wealth either. It's the invisible wall between them. The one that makes us walk past struggling people every single day and convince ourselves it's not our problem. And here's the part that's going to keep you watching until the very end. What happened between these two people didn't start with money. It started with something so simple, so small, that most of us would have missed it completely. But that one moment, that tiny crack in the wall, it became an earthquake. Now, before we dive into this, if you believe that one person can actually make a difference, if you think kindness isn't dead, hit that like button. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, someone who's fighting a battle nobody sees, share this video with them. Because sometimes a story is the exact thing that helps someone hold on for one more day. Let's go back to where it really started. 4:47 in the morning. The parking lot behind Morrison Street was still dark except for one flickering streetlight that had been broken for 3 weeks. Nobody from the city had come to fix it. Nobody cared about this part of town enough to notice. Beneath that dying light sat a 1997 Honda Civic. Silver paint faded to something closer to gray, with a rear bumper held on by duct tape and hope. Inside that car, Rebecca Walsh woke up the same way she'd woken up for the past 93 days. Cold, stiff, and absolutely terrified one of her children would ask the question she couldn't answer. "Mommy, when are we going home?" She blinked at the cracked rearview mirror, her neck screaming from another night, bent at an angle the human spine was never designed to hold. Her daughter, Lily, was 8 years old, curled up in the back seat with a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. Her son, Cameron, was 5, sleeping with his head against the window, his breath fogging the glass in small rhythmic clouds. Rebecca allowed herself 10 seconds. 10 seconds to feel the weight of it all. 10 seconds to hate herself. 10 seconds to cry without making a sound. Then she wiped her face, straightened her shoulders, and became mom again. "Good morning, my loves," she whispered, gently shaking Lily's shoulder. Lily's eyes opened slowly. "Is it time already?" Rebecca forced a smile. Time for another adventure. That's what she called it. An adventure. Not homelessness. Not failure. Not sleeping in a car because the world had chewed her up and spit her out with nothing left but 2 kids and a half tank of gas. Cameron stirred, rubbing his eyes with tiny fists. "I'm cold, Mommy." Rebecca reached back and pulled a blanket tighter around him. "I know, baby. We'll get warmed up soon, okay? We're going to go wash up. Then I've got a special breakfast for you. Special mint peanut butter sandwiches." Again, It had meant peanut butter sandwiches for 2 weeks straight. But the way she said it, with that bright tone that cost her everything she had left, made it sound like a feast. Lily sat up, carefully folding the blanket she'd been using. She learned not to leave things messy. Learned that everything they owned had to fit in this car. And if it didn't fit, it didn't exist. Cameron grabbed the small plastic bag that held their toothbrushes. 3 of them. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow. He held it up like a trophy. "I got it, Mommy." Rebecca's heart cracked a little more. "Good job, Cam. You're such a big helper." She checked the time on her phone. 4:53. The Starbucks 2 blocks away opened at 5. That gave them 7 minutes to wake up, organize, and make the walk without being seen by too many people. Being seen was dangerous. Being seen meant questions. Questions meant Child Protective Services. And Child Protective Services meant losing the only 2 reasons she was still breathing. Rebecca stepped out of the car first, scanning the parking lot like a soldier in enemy territory. Empty. Good. She opened the back door and helped Cameron out, then Lily. The morning air bit at their faces. Lily shivered but didn't complain. She never complained. That was the part that destroyed Rebecca the most. Her 8-year-old daughter had learned that complaining changed nothing. So why waste the energy? What kind of world teaches a child that? They walked together, hand in hand, toward the Starbucks. Rebecca kept her head up, her expression neutral. If anyone saw them, they just looked like an early morning family. Maybe Mom worked an early shift. Maybe the kids had a school event. Nobody would assume they'd just crawled out of a car they'd been living in for 3 months. The Starbucks bathroom became their sanctuary every morning. Rebecca had memorized the schedule. The staff changed at 5. The morning crew was used to seeing her. One of them, a young guy named Tyler with kind eyes and too many piercings, even started leaving the bathroom unlocked for her 5 minutes early. He never said anything, just nodded. And that small act of silent kindness kept Rebecca from completely falling apart. This morning, Tyler was wiping down the counter when they walked in. He glanced up, made eye contact with Rebecca, nodded toward the bathroom. She mouthed the words, "Thank you." He turned away like he hadn't seen anything. Inside the bathroom, Rebecca moved with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times. She wet paper towels in warm water and wiped down Lily's face first, then Cameron's. "Brush your teeth, guys." 2 minutes. Make sure you get the back ones. Lily squeezed toothpaste onto her brush without being told. Cameron needed help, his little hands still clumsy with the tube. Rebecca watched them in the mirror, their reflections staring back at her like ghosts of the life she used to give them. She remembered bedtime routines in an actual bathroom, with a bathtub, and pajamas that weren't just the clothes they'd wear the next day, and a mother who wasn't failing them every single second. "Mommy, you're not brushing," Lily said quietly. Rebecca blinked. "Oh, right. Yeah, I'm going to. You first." After teeth, Rebecca pulled out the small bag of clothes she'd kept clean. She helped Cameron into a different shirt, this one without stains. Helped Lily smooth out her hair and tie it back with a scrunchie. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Lily looked at herself in the mirror, her expression unreadable. "Do I look normal?" The question hit like a fist. Rebecca knelt down, cupping her daughter's face. "You look perfect. You're perfect." Lily didn't argue, but she didn't smile either. By the time they left the bathroom, it was 5:20. Rebecca guided them to the curb outside, away from the main windows. She pulled out 3 sandwiches wrapped in napkins. Peanut butter again. Cameron took his without hesitation, biting into it like it was gourmet. Lily stared at hers. "Mom?" "Yeah, honey? When we get our new apartment. Can we have jelly too?" Rebecca's throat closed. "Yeah, baby. We'll have all the jelly you want." Lily nodded and took a small bite. They ate in silence, sitting on the cold curb, while the world around them slowly woke up. Cars started pulling into the parking lot. People in business clothes. People holding expensive coffee drinks. People who had no idea that 15 feet away, a family was eating their only meal until dinner on the side of the road. Rebecca checked her phone again. 5:40. "Okay, guys. Time to head to school." The elementary school was a 20-minute walk. Rebecca had timed it. They needed to leave now to get there by 6:15, which gave her just enough time to get Lily and Cameron to the before-school program. then catch the bus to her first job. She worked mornings at a laundromat folding sheets and towels for $6.50 an hour under the table. Then afternoons at a grocery store stocking shelves for $9. Between both jobs, she made just enough to keep gas in the car and food in their stomachs. But not enough for rent. Not enough for a deposit. Not enough to stop living like this. She'd applied to 17 apartments in the last month. Every single one required first month, last month, and a security deposit. That was close to $4,000. She had $233 in her account. The math did math, and every day that gap felt bigger. They walked toward the school, Cameron skipping slightly ahead, Lily staying close to Rebecca's side. Mom? Yeah? Lily hesitated. Are we really going to get an apartment soon? Rebecca's heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same breath. Yes, baby. I promise. I'm working on it every single day. Okay. That was all Lily said. Just okay. Because what else could an 8-year-old say when her mother promised something that felt impossible? They reached the school at 6:14. The before-school program supervisor, Mrs. Nguyen, smiled as they approached. Good morning, Walsh family. Rebecca smiled back, the mask firmly in place. Good morning. Lily and Cameron ran inside to join the other kids. Rebecca watched them disappear through the door, and for a moment, she let herself believe they were just normal kids with a normal life. Then she turned and started the walk back to the bus stop. Alone. The morning job was brutal as always. Hot. Repetitive. Her boss, a man named Gene who smelled like cigarettes and screamed about efficiency, barely acknowledged her existence except to criticize. You're folding too slow, Rebecca. She folded faster. This sheet has a wrinkle. She refolded. For hours of that. For hours of being invisible unless she made a mistake. Then the bus to the grocery store. Another 4 hours of stocking shelves, smiling at customers, pretending her back didn't feel like it was breaking in half. By the time she clocked out at 3:30, Rebecca had been awake for nearly 11 hours. She still had to pick up the kids. Still had to figure out dinner. Still had to find a safe place to park for the night. The exhaustion wasn't just physical. It was the kind of tired that lived in your bones, that made you wonder if you'd ever feel rested again. But she couldn't stop. Stopping meant giving up, and giving up meant losing them. So she got on the bus, rode back across town, picked up Lily and Cameron from the after-school program, and smiled when they ran to hug her. Mommy! Cameron crashed into her legs. Lily hugged her waist, and for 5 seconds, Rebecca forgot how tired she was. Did you guys have a good day? I got a gold star in math, Lily said quietly. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. That's my girl. I'm so proud of you. And I made a drawing, Cameron added, pulling a crumpled paper from his backpack. It was a picture of 3 stick figures standing in front of a house. A big house, with a red door. Rebecca stared at it, unable to breathe. This is us, Cameron explained. When we get our house. See? That's you, that's me, that's Lily. And we have a dog. We don't have a dog, Lily corrected. We will, Cameron insisted. When we get the house. Rebecca folded the picture carefully and put it in her purse. It's perfect, Cam. I love it. They walked back to the car together, hands linked, and Rebecca tried not to think about the fact that in 3 hours, those same kids would be sleeping in that back seat again. One day at a time, she told herself. Just one day at a time. But how many more days could she survive? Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. How many people do you pass every single day who are fighting battles you know nothing about? How many times have you looked at someone and made assumptions based on 3 seconds of observation? I'm not judging you. I've done it too. We all have. But this story is about to show you why that's dangerous. If this is hitting home for you, if you've ever been the person others underestimated, drop a comment below and just say, I see you. Because someone reading this needs to know they're not invisible. And don't forget to subscribe to Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins, because we're just getting started, and what happens next is going to flip everything you think you know about success. Across the city, in a part of town where streetlights actually worked and security guards patrolled regularly, Dominic Cross stood in front of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a skyline he technically owned a piece of. His penthouse was 4,200 square feet of marble, steel, and emptiness. Everything in it cost more than most people made in a year. The couch, $12,000. The coffee table, $8,000. The abstract painting on the wall that looked like someone had sneezed on a canvas, $75,000. And yet, standing there at 5:30 in the morning, Dominic felt nothing. He'd woken up at 4:15, not because he wanted to, because sleep had become something his brain no longer knew how to do properly. 3 hours a night, if he was lucky. The rest of the time, he just laid there, staring at the ceiling of his custom-designed bedroom, wondering when success had started feeling like punishment. His phone buzzed. 43 unread emails. 16 text messages. All of them urgent, apparently. All of them requiring his immediate attention. He scrolled through them with the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. Merger negotiation update. Board meeting agenda. Interview request from Forbes. Charity gala invitation. Another charity gala invitation. Someone asking for money. Someone else asking for money. Everyone always wanted something. And he gave it. Not because he cared, but because that's what people like him did. Dominic Cross, founder and CEO of Cross Tech Industries, had built an empire from absolutely nothing. He'd started in a one-bedroom apartment with maxed-out credit cards and a business plan everyone said would fail. 15 years later, his company was valued at $11.3 billion. He had properties in 7 countries, a private jet, more cars than he could drive, and absolutely nobody to share it with. His assistant, Rachel, had once asked him why he never took vacations. He'd looked at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. Vacation to where? To do what? Sit on a beach alone? Stay in a hotel alone? Eat at restaurants alone? At least in the office, the loneliness had a purpose. Dominic set his phone down and walked to the kitchen. The refrigerator was fully stocked. A private chef came twice a week to prepare meals. Everything organic. Everything balanced. Everything joyless. He grabbed a green smoothie that tasted like grass clippings and obligation. Drank it. Felt nothing. His therapist, the one he'd seen exactly 4 times before deciding therapy was a waste of money, had told him he was suffering from anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Dominic had argued that wasn't true. He felt pleasure when a deal closed, when quarterly numbers exceeded projections, when competitors failed. The therapist had given him a look that said, "That's not what I mean, and you know it." He hadn't gone back. Dominic showered, dressed in a suit that cost more than Rebecca's car, and checked his schedule. 7 a.m. meeting with the acquisitions team. 9 a.m. call with investors. 11 a.m. lunch with a senator who wanted campaign contributions. 2 p.m. interview with Business Weekly. 4 p.m. site visit to the new headquarters construction. 6 p.m. dinner meeting. Then home. To silence. His driver, Maurice, was already waiting downstairs at 6:45. "Good morning, Mr. Cross." Dominic nodded. "Morning." They drove in silence. Maurice had learned years ago that Dominic didn't do small talk. The city passed by outside the window. People heading to work. Couples walking dogs. A homeless man sleeping on a bench. Dominic looked away from that last one. It was easier not to see. The morning meetings went exactly as expected. Numbers discussed. Strategies debated. Decisions made that would affect thousands of employees and millions of dollars. Dominic navigated it all with the precision of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. But somewhere around the 2 p.m. interview, the journalist asked him a question that stuck. "Mr. Cross, you've accomplished everything most people dream of. What drives you now?" Dominic had given a standard answer. Innovation. Growth. Creating value for stakeholders. The journalist had smiled and nodded. But Dominic knew it was bullshit. He had no idea what drove him anymore. Inertia, maybe. Fear of stopping. The terror of sitting still long enough to realize none of it mattered. By 4 p.m., he was in the back of the car heading to the construction site when Maurice made an unexpected turn. "There's an accident on the main route, sir. Taking the alternate." "Fine." They drove through a part of the city Dominic rarely saw. Older buildings. Cheaper stores. People who looked tired in a way his employees never did. And then Maurice pulled into a Starbucks parking lot. "I'll just be a moment, sir. Need to grab something." Dominic waved him off and stepped out to stretch his legs. The air smelled different here. Less exhaust. More coffee. He glanced around, vaguely aware that he stood out in this neighborhood like a diamond in a drawer of nickels. That's when he saw it. The silver Honda Civic. At first, it was just another car. Unremarkable. Old. But then he noticed the windows. They were fogged. From inside. And there was movement. Dominic's curiosity itched. The driver's side door opened, and a woman stepped out. She looked to be in her early 30s, wearing jeans and a blouse that had clearly been slept in. She smoothed the wrinkles with her hands, checked her reflection in the side mirror, and took a deep breath like she was preparing for battle. Then the back door opened. 2 kids climbed out. A girl, maybe 8. A boy younger. The girl folded a blanket with careful precision. The boy packed something into a backpack. And Dominic realized, in the span of 3 seconds, exactly what he was looking at. They'd been sleeping in there. His first instinct was denial. No, surely not. But then he watched them walk toward the Starbucks bathroom, carrying a small bag, moving with the kind of routine that only comes from repetition. This wasn't their first time. This was a system. Dominic stood frozen. He'd written checks to homeless charities. Big checks. Tax-deductible checks. But he'd never actually looked at homelessness. Not like this. Not a mother. Not children. Not people who looked like they were trying so damn hard to appear normal. Maurice returned with his coffee. Ready, sir? Dominic didn't move. Give me a minute. He watched the family come back out of the bathroom 20 minutes later. The kids looked cleaner. The mother looked exhausted. She pulled out sandwiches wrapped in napkins and handed them to the kids. They sat on the curb and ate. The little boy swung his legs. The girl ate slowly, methodically. The mother barely touched hers. And Dominic realized something that made his stomach turn. She was giving them her portion, eating just enough to not raise suspicion, but saving the rest for later. For them. He watched until they packed up and walked away, the mother holding both kids' hands. Then he stood there in the parking lot of a Starbucks, in a $1,500 suit, feeling like he'd just seen something he wasn't supposed to. Maurice cleared his throat gently. Sir? The site inspection? Dominic turned. Cancel it. Sir? Cancel the rest of the day. I need to think. He got back in the car, and Maurice drove him home in confused silence. That night, Dominic didn't work. Didn't answer emails. Didn't review reports. He sat in his empty penthouse and thought about a woman folding blankets in a car. About kids eating sandwiches on a curb. About the look on that mother's face when she smoothed her wrinkled shirt. Pretty shame, determination, exhaustion, all at once. He'd seen desperation before. People begging for investments. Employees pleading to keep their jobs. But this was different. This was someone fighting a war nobody else could see. And losing. Dominic didn't sleep that night either. But for the first time in years, it wasn't because of work. The next morning, he told Maurice to take the same route. Past the same Starbucks. At the same time. And there it was. The silver Honda Civic. Same spot. Same routine. The mother. The kids. The blankets. The bathroom. The sandwiches. Like clockwork. Day 3. He came back again. Day 4. Day 5. By day 6, Maurice stopped asking questions. He just drove to the Starbucks and waited. Dominic told himself he was being ridiculous. That watching a stranger's morning routine was borderline creepy. But he couldn't stop. Because every time he saw that woman smile at her kids, every time he saw those children laugh despite everything, something inside him fractured. These people had nothing. And yet they had everything he didn't. Connection. Purpose. Love. That wasn't transactional. On day 7, Dominic made a decision. He called his head of security. I need you to look into someone. The man's voice was professional, unsurprised. Name? I don't have one, but I have a license plate. He rattled off the numbers he'd memorized. I need a full background check. Quietly. No police involvement. And do not, under any circumstances, approach or scare this person. Understood? Understood, sir. The report came back 18 hours later. Dominic sat in his office and read it 3 times. Rebecca Marie Walsh. Age 32. Widowed 4 years prior. Husband died in a work accident. Former accountant at a mid-sized firm. Company dissolved after embezzlement scandal. Not her fault. Wrong place, wrong time. Lost her job. Burned through savings during her daughter's emergency appendectomy. Evicted 4 months ago. Currently working 2 part-time jobs, neither offering benefits. Children, Lily, age 8, and Cameron, age 5, enrolled in public school with perfect attendance records. Both children performing in the top 10% of their classes. No criminal record. No debts beyond medical bills. No family support system. No consignes. No way out. Dominic set the folder down and stared at the wall. This woman wasn't a failure. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't looking for handouts. She was drowning in a system designed to keep people like her underwater. And her kids? Top 10% of their class while living in a car. He thought about his own childhood. Every advantage. Private schools. Tutors. No worries about where he'd sleep or what he'd eat. And he'd still barely graduated high school because he'd been too busy partying. These kids were living in a parking lot and getting gold stars. The injustice of it made him irrationally angry. At what? He wasn't sure. The system. The universe. Himself for having so much while others had so little. He picked up his phone and called his CFO. I need to create a job opening. We have several, sir. No, a specific one. Entry-level accounting position. Flexible hours. Full benefits package including health, dental, vision. Childcare assistance program. Starting salary, $75,000. There was a pause. Sir, that's well above market rate for entry level. I am aware. Post it. May I ask what this is for? You may not. Just do it. Yes, sir. Dominic hung up and sat back in his chair. This was insane. He was creating a job for a woman who didn't even know he existed. A woman who would probably be insulted if she knew. But he didn't care. For the first time in a decade, Dominic Ross was doing something that had nothing to do with profit margins. And it felt like waking up. The next morning, he went back to the Starbucks. This time, he didn't just watch. He walked inside, ordered 3 hot chocolates, and waited. When Rebecca and her kids came out of the bathroom, he was standing near the door. Their eyes met, hers immediately filled with suspicion. He tried to smile in a way that didn't look threatening. Failed miserably. Excuse me, he started. Rebecca's hand instinctively moved to pull her kids closer. We're not asking for anything, she said quickly. We're fine. I know. I just thought maybe your kids would like these. He held out the hot chocolates. Cameron's eyes went wide. Lily looked at her mother. Rebecca's jaw tightened. That's very kind, but we can't accept. It's just hot chocolate. Not a big deal. Rebecca stared at him, and Dominic realized she was trying to figure out his angle. Because in her world, nothing came free. Please, he added quietly. They're going to go to waste otherwise. I ordered the wrong size. It was a terrible lie, but something in Rebecca's expression softened. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the way Cameron was practically vibrating with hope. She sighed. Say thank you. Thank you, both kids chorused. Cameron grabbed his hot chocolate like it was made of gold. Lily took hers carefully, politely. Dominic handed the third one to Rebecca. She hesitated, then took it. Their fingers brushed for half a second. Hers were freezing. His were warm. The contrast felt like an accusation. Mind if I sit for a minute? Dominic asked, gesturing to a nearby bench. Rebecca looked like she very much minded, but she also looked too tired to argue. I guess. They sat. The kids sipped their hot chocolate, eyes wide with joy. Dominic tried to think of something to say that wouldn't sound patronizing. Failed at that too. I am Dominique. Rebecca. Her tone made it clear that was all the information he was getting. An awkward silence settled between them. Then Cameron, bless his fearless 5-year-old heart, broke it. Are you rich? Cameron, Lily hissed. Rebecca's face flushed. I'm so sorry. Dominic actually laughed. It's okay. And yeah, buddy, I guess I am. How rich? Cameron. Rebecca's voice held a warning. But Dominic was smiling for the first time in weeks. Pretty rich. Do you have a big house? I do. With lots of rooms? Lots. Cameron processed this. We're going to have a big house too. With a red door. And a dog. Lily elbowed him. Cam, stop. But Rebecca's face had gone pale. Dominic saw it. The shame. The fear that he'd figured it out. He shifted the conversation quickly. What do you like to do, Lily? She shrugged. I like school. Yeah? What's your favorite subject? Math. Me too, Dominic lied. He'd hated math. But Lily's face lit up just a little. Really? Really? What do you want to be when you grow up? Lily thought about it seriously. Maybe a teacher. Or an astronaut. I haven't decided yet. Those are both great choices. Cameron chimed in. I'm going to build rockets. Wow, that's ambitious. Dominic glanced at Rebecca, who was staring into her hot chocolate like it held the answers to questions she was too afraid to ask. And what about you? He asked gently. What do you do? Rebecca's shoulders stiffened. I work. Doing? Various things. Her tone said drop it. So he did. They sat in silence for another minute. Then Rebecca stood. We need to get going. School. Of course. The kids handed back their empty cups. Thank you, Lily said again. Yeah. Thanks, Cameron added. Dominic watched them walk toward the car. Watch Rebecca help them inside. Watch her get into the driver's seat and sit there for a long moment before starting the engine. And he made a decision. This wasn't over. Not even close. Dominic spent the next 48 hours doing something he'd never done before. Obsessing over someone else's problems instead of his own. He pulled strings, made calls, restructured an entire department just to create one very specific position. His CFO thought he'd lost his mind. His board would have staged an intervention if they'd known. But Dominic didn't care. For once in his calculated, strategic, profit-driven life, he was doing something that made absolutely no business sense. And it felt right. The job posting went live on a Thursday morning. Entry-level accountant position. Cross-tech industries. Flexible scheduling. Full benefits package including health, dental, vision. Childcare assistance program. Starting salary $75,000 annually. His HR director had called him personally. Sir, I think there's been a mistake in the salary listing. There hasn't. But for entry level, I'm aware of what it is. Post it. The listing went up on every job board in the city. Now came the hard part. Getting Rebecca to see it. Dominic couldn't just hand it to her. That would destroy the entire point. She needed to find it herself. Apply herself. Earn it herself. Even if the game was rigged in her favor. So he did something that felt equally insane. He went back to the Starbucks. Waited for her. And when she came out of the bathroom with Lily and Cameron, he approached her again. Rebecca's face immediately shifted to defensive. Look, I appreciate the hot chocolate yesterday, but I'm not here to give you anything. Dominic interrupted gently. I'm here to ask you something. Rebecca crossed her arms. What? Are you looking for work? Better work? Her eyes narrowed. Why? Because I know someone who's hiring. Accounting position. Good pay. Benefits. And they're looking for someone with your exact background. How do you know my background? The question came out sharp. Dominic had prepared for this. I don't. Not really. But yesterday your daughter mentioned you're good with numbers, and you mentioned you work various jobs, so I made an assumption. Was I wrong? Rebecca studied him like he was a puzzle with missing pieces. What company? Cross-tech industries. Her eyebrows shot up. The cross-tech? You've heard of it. Everyone's heard of it. She paused. Why are you telling me this? Because good people deserve good opportunities. And I have a feeling you're good people. You don't know me. You're right. I don't. But I know you're here at 5 in the morning, making sure your kids are clean and fed before school. I know your daughter is confident and polite. I know your son has an imagination that won't quit. That tells me everything I need to know. Rebecca's wall cracked just a little. I can't afford childcare. Most jobs require. This one has childcare assistance. It's part of the benefits package. She blinked. That's too good to be true. Look it up yourself. Don't take my word for it. The posting just went live yesterday. He pulled out a business card. Not his. One he'd had printed specifically for this. Just a generic card with the company website and HR contact information. If you're interested, here's where to apply. No guarantees. But I think you'd be a strong candidate. Rebecca took the card like it might explode. Why are you doing this? Dominic met her eyes. Because someone helped me once when I needed it. And I've spent 15 years forgetting to pay that forward. Consider this me remembering. It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Rebecca stared at the card for a long moment. Thank you. Good luck. He walked away before she could ask more questions. Before he could say something that would give it all away. Maurice was waiting in the car. How'd it go, sir? Dominic leaned back against the seat. I have no idea. That afternoon, Rebecca sat in the public library while Lily and Cameron did homework at a table nearby. She'd been staring at the business card for 20 minutes. Cross-tech industries. She'd heard of them. Everyone had. They were massive. Billion-dollar contracts. International reach. Why would they need someone like her? And why would some random stranger in a Starbucks parking lot know about their job openings? It felt wrong. Too convenient. Too perfect. But then again, what did she have to lose? She pulled up the website on the library computer. Search for careers. And there it was. Entry-level accountant. Everything the man, Dominic, had said. Salary, benefits, childcare assistance. All real. All listed in black and white. Rebecca's hands trembled as she read through the job requirements. Bachelor's degree in accounting or related field. Check. Minimum 2 years experience. Check. Proficiency in Excel and financial software. Check. She met every single requirement. But so did thousands of other people probably. Why would they choose her? She glanced over at Lily and Cameron. Lily was helping Cameron with his reading homework, sounding out words with patient determination. Cameron was trying, his little face scrunched up in concentration. They deserved better than this. Better than sleeping in a car. Better than peanut butter sandwiches every morning. Better than a mother who was failing them every single day. Rebecca clicked the apply button before she could talk herself out of it. The application was extensive. Work history, education, references. She filled it out carefully, proofreading every line 3 times. When she got to the section asking about her current employment status, she hesitated, then wrote the truth. Currently working 2 part-time positions while seeking full-time employment. When it asked for her address, she paused even longer, then wrote the address of the public library. It was the only stable address she had. She hit submit at 4:32 in the afternoon, then closed her eyes and said a prayer to a God she wasn't sure was listening anymore. Please, just this once, let something good happen. The response came 3 days later. Rebecca was in the middle of her shift at the grocery store, stocking canned goods on a shelf, when her phone buzzed. She wasn't supposed to check it during work, but something made her look. An email from Cross-Tech Industries' HR department. Her heart stopped. Subject line, interview request. She read it 4 times to make sure it was real. Dear Ms. Walsh, thank you for your application for the entry-level accountant position. We were impressed with your qualifications and would like to invite you to interview. Please reply with your availability for this week. Best regards, Jennifer Marks, HR Director. Rebecca's knees went weak. She steadied herself against the shelf. Read it again. Still real. They wanted to interview her. Her, Rebecca Walsh, who was currently living in a 1997 Honda Civic and stealing Wi-Fi from library parking lots. She responded immediately, hands shaking so badly she had to retype twice. Listed her availability. All of it. Any time, any day, whatever worked for them. The response came back within an hour. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Business casual attire. Bring copies of your resume and any relevant certifications. Rebecca stared at her phone. Tomorrow. She had less than 24 hours. And she had absolutely nothing to wear. That night, after picking up Lily and Cameron from school, Rebecca did something she'd sworn she'd never do. She went to the donation center. The same one she dropped off half her belongings at 4 months ago when she couldn't fit them in the car. The irony wasn't lost on her. She walked through the racks of secondhand clothes while Lily and Cameron sat on a bench near the door. Found a blazer that almost fit. A blouse with only one small stain, easily hidden. Dress pants that were 2 inches too long, but would work with the right shoes. Shoes she couldn't afford. She'd have to wear her old ones and hope nobody looked too closely. At the register, the total came to $18. Rebecca counted out exact change from the emergency cash she kept hidden in the glove compartment. Money she'd been saving for gas. Now, she'd have to choose between looking professional and having enough fuel to get to the interview. She chose the clothes, walked 3 blocks to a gas station, and put in $5 worth. Prayed it would be enough. That night, parked in their usual spot behind the Morrison Street Plaza, Rebecca hung the interview outfit carefully on a hanger hooked to the ceiling handle. She didn't want it wrinkled. Didn't want anything to go wrong. Lily watched her quietly. Is that for something important, Mom? Rebecca smiled. Yeah, baby. I have a job interview tomorrow. A real job? A real job. Cameron perked up from the back seat. Does that mean we get our house? Rebecca's smile faltered. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? It's just an interview, but I'm going to try my very best. You always try your best, Lily said simply. And that truth, spoken so innocently by her 8-year-old daughter, nearly broke Rebecca completely. She tucked them both in that night with extra kisses, extra reassurances, extra hope she wasn't sure she should be giving them. Then she sat in the driver's seat, staring at the outfit hanging above her, and allowed herself to imagine. What if this worked? What if they hired her? What if she could actually give her kids a home again? The possibility felt too big to hold, too fragile to trust. But for the first time in months, Rebecca let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. She barely slept. When her alarm went off at 4 a.m., she was already awake. The routine began. Wake the kids. Morning bathroom trip. Sandwiches for breakfast. But today, Rebecca added something. She used the last of her concealer to hide the dark circles under her eyes. Used the bathroom mirror to practice her smile. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Too desperate. Hello, I'm Rebecca Walsh. I'm excited to discuss this position. Better. Lily appeared in the mirror behind her. You look pretty, Mommy. Rebecca turned, kneeling down to hug her daughter. Thank you, sweetheart. Are you nervous? A little. You're going to do great. How do you know? Because you're the smartest person I know. Rebecca's throat tightened. I love you so much. I love you too. By 8:30, Rebecca had dropped the kids at school and driven across town to the Crosstech Industries headquarters. The building was glass and steel. 30 stories of success and intimidation. Rebecca parked in the visitor lot, checked her reflection one more time, and grabbed the folder with her resume copies. Her hands were shaking. She gripped the folder tighter to hide it. You can do this. You have to do this. The lobby was everything she'd expected. Marble floors, modern art, a reception desk that looked like it cost more than her entire life. She walked up to the receptionist, a young woman with perfect hair and a smile that could sell toothpaste. I have a 10 o'clock interview with Jennifer Marks. The receptionist typed something. Of course. Ms. Marks is expecting you. Take the elevators to the 14th floor. Someone will meet you there. Thank you. Rebecca's heels clicked against the marble. The elevator ride felt like it took an hour. She watched the numbers climb. 5th floor, 8th floor, 12th floor, 14th. The doors opened to a sleek waiting area with leather chairs and a view of the city that made her dizzy. A woman in her 50s approached, hand extended. Rebecca Walsh? Yes. Jennifer Marks. So glad you could make it. Follow me. They walked down a hallway lined with conference rooms. People in expensive suits. Everyone moving with purpose. Rebecca had forgotten what that felt like. They entered a smaller conference room. Inside sat 2 other people. A man in his 40s, glasses, kind eyes. A woman in her 30s, sharp suit, evaluating expression. This is David Chung, our accounting department head, and Sarah Winters, senior accountant. They'll be conducting the interview with me. Rebecca shook hands with both, sat down when invited, placed her folder on the table, and prayed her voice wouldn't shake. The interview lasted 45 minutes. They asked about her previous experience, her education, her familiarity with various software programs. Rebecca answered every question, honestly, thoroughly, without mentioning the car, without mentioning the parking lots, without mentioning that she'd practiced these answers in a Starbucks bathroom mirror. Then David slid a paper across the table. This is a sample financial report with several errors. You have 10 minutes to identify as many as you can. Rebecca picked up the pen, scanned the document, and something clicked. This was what she was good at. Numbers didn't judge. Numbers didn't care where you slept. Numbers just were, and she understood them. 7 minutes later, she slid the paper back. I found 9 errors. Listed them here with corrections. David looked at her list, then at Sarah, then back at Rebecca. There were 8 errors planted in this document. Rebecca's stomach dropped. Oh, I am sorry. You found a 9th one we didn't catch. David was smiling. Sarah was smiling too. Even Jennifer looked impressed. Ms. Walsh, can you walk us through your approach to managing multiple accounts with competing deadlines? Rebecca talked about prioritization, about systems she developed, about staying organized under pressure. She talked about problem solving, about attention to detail, about commitment to accuracy. She didn't talk about how she'd learned those skills by managing survival on $17 a day, but the skills were the same. Finally, Jennifer folded her hands. Do you have any questions for us? Rebecca had prepared 3. Asked about company culture, about opportunities for growth, about what success looked like in this role. All the right questions. Professional, thoughtful, hiding the one question screaming in her head. Please just give me a chance. The interview ended with handshakes. We'll be in touch soon. Thank you so much for your time. Rebecca walked back to the elevator, down to the lobby, out to the parking lot, got in her car, and sobbed, not because it went badly, but because it went well. And she'd forgotten what that felt like. 3 hours later, she was back at the grocery store stocking shelves when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello, Ms. Walsh. This is Jennifer Marks from Crosstech. Rebecca's heart stopped. Yes. Hi. I'll get right to the point. We'd like to offer you the position. Rebecca's knees gave out. She sat down right there in the middle of the canned soup aisle. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? We're offering you the job. $75,000 annually, full benefits, childcare assistance as discussed. When can you start? Rebecca couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process that this was real. Are you sure? Very sure. You were exactly what we're looking for. So when can you start? Immediately. Tomorrow. Whenever you need me. Jennifer laughed warmly. How about Monday? That gives you a few days to sort out logistics. Monday is perfect. Excellent. I'll send over the paperwork. Welcome to Crosstech, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you so much. Rebecca hung up, stared at her phone, and started crying again. Her supervisor found her like that. Walsh, you okay? Rebecca looked up, tears streaming down her face. I just had a new job. The supervisor's expression softened. Then you better go celebrate. Get out of here. Really? Really? And congratulations. Rebecca didn't need to be told twice. She clocked out, drove straight to the school, pulled Lily and Cameron out of the after-school program early. The kids looked worried when they saw her face. Mom, what's wrong? Rebecca knelt down and hugged them both. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I got the job. Lily's eyes went wide. The real job? The real job. Cameron started jumping. Does that mean we get the house now? Rebecca laughed through her tears. It means we're getting there, baby. We're finally getting there. That night, they celebrated with McDonald's. Actual McDonald's. With fries and everything. The kids acted like it was a 5-star restaurant. Rebecca watched them eat and felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Real hope. Not the fragile kind that shattered at the smallest setback, but solid hope. The kind built on actual change. She started Monday morning at 8 a.m. Jennifer gave her a tour, introduced her to the team, showed her to her desk, an actual desk, with a computer, and a nameplate that said Rebecca Walsh, Junior Accountant. Rebecca ran her fingers over the letters. This was real. She spent the first week learning systems, meeting people, proving herself, and she was good, really good. David pulled her aside on Friday. You're picking this up faster than anyone we've hired in years. Rebecca smiled. I'm motivated. That was an understatement. She worked harder than everyone else. Stayed later. Asked more questions. Because she knew what this job meant. It meant stability. It meant she could start saving. It meant her kids could have a future. But she still slept in the car. Because $75,000 a year didn't mean instant wealth. It meant first paycheck in 2 weeks. Security deposit in a month. Apartment in 6 weeks if she was lucky. She could wait 6 weeks. She'd already waited this long. What Rebecca didn't know was that Dominic had been watching. Not creepily, just checking in, making sure the plan worked, making sure she got a fair shot. He'd stayed out of the interview process completely, hadn't influenced the decision. Jennifer and David had chosen her on merit alone, but he'd made sure the opportunity existed. And now, watching from his office window as Rebecca arrived each morning, briefcase in hand, professional and punctual, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Pride, not in himself, but in someone else, in watching someone grab the chance they deserved. His assistant knocked. Mr. Cross, your 9 o'clock is here. Dominic turned from the window. Be right there. But he glanced back once more. saw Rebecca walking through the lobby doors. Head high, purpose in her step, and he smiled. Sometimes the best investment you can make has nothing to do with money. Sometimes it's just giving someone a chance to show the world what they're actually made of. And Rebecca Walsh was made of something extraordinary. Now, I'm going to pause here because I need you to understand something crucial before we continue. This isn't about one person saving another. This is about recognizing that sometimes the only difference between success and failure is opportunity. Rebecca had the skills. She had the determination. She had everything she needed except the chance to prove it. And that's the part that should make you angry. Because how many brilliant people are out there right now, fighting battles nobody sees, one bad break away from sleeping in their car? How many kids are going to school hungry, but still getting gold stars because they refuse to give up? If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or written off because of your circumstances, drop a comment and let the world know you're still here. You're still fighting, and your story isn't over. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that better days are coming. Subscribe to Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins because these stories matter. They remind us that humanity still exists, that kindness still counts, that one person really can make a difference. Now let's talk about what happened next. Because Rebecca was about to discover the truth about who Dominic really was. And that revelation was going to test everything she thought she knew about pride, charity, and what it really means to accept help. Week 3 at Crosstech Industries, Rebecca had settled into a rhythm. Morning drop-off at school. Arrive at office by 7:45. Coffee from the break room. Black, no sugar. She couldn't afford the fancy drinks everyone else bought from the lobby cafe, but nobody seemed to notice or care. Dive into spreadsheets until lunch. Eat the sandwich she'd packed at her desk. More work until 5. Pick up kids. Dinner from the dollar menu. Homework in the library parking lot under the streetlights. Bedtime routine in the car. Sleep. Repeat. But now she had something she hadn't had in months. A plan. First paycheck hit in 4 days. After taxes, she'd clear about $2,200. She'd already done the math 17 times. $300 for gas and food. $200 to pay down the medical debt that was destroying her credit. $1,700 into savings. If she could do that for 6 weeks, she'd have enough for first, last, and deposit on a modest 2-bedroom. 6 weeks. 42 days. She could survive 42 more days in the car. She'd survived 93 already. What was 42 more? But her body was starting to rebel. The back pain that used to fade during the day now lingered through lunch. The headaches came more frequently, and she'd started coughing. Just a little. Nothing serious. Probably just a change in weather. She ignored it, because acknowledging it meant doctor visits. And doctor visits meant bills. And bills meant pushing back the apartment timeline. So she worked, and coughed into her elbow when nobody was looking, and pretended everything was fine. David noticed anyway. You okay, Rebecca? You sound a little rough. Just allergies, she lied. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. I will. Thank you. But she wouldn't. Couldn't. Not yet. Not until her kids had a real home. On Thursday afternoon, Rebecca was deep into reconciling a quarterly report when her desk phone rang. Rebecca Walsh. Rebecca, it's Jennifer. Do you have a moment to come to my office? Rebecca's stomach dropped. Of course. Be right there. She walked down the hallway, mind racing through everything she might have done wrong. Was her work not good enough? Had they discovered where she was living? Was she being fired after 3 weeks? Jennifer's office was on the 16th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of the entire city. Jennifer sat behind a glass desk, smiling warmly. Come in, close the door. Rebecca did, heart pounding. Have a seat. She sat. Jennifer pulled out a folder. I wanted to check in on how you're adjusting. Oh, Rebecca exhaled. It's going really well. I love the work. The team has been incredibly welcoming. And, Rebecca, you're doing great. Better than great, actually. David says you're the strongest hire we've made in years. Rebecca blinked. Really? Really? Which is why I want to talk to you about something. Okay, we have a housing assistance program for employees who are transitioning or facing temporary hardship. It's completely confidential. Provides access to short-term housing while you get on your feet. Rebecca's blood turned cold. I don't understand. Jennifer's voice stayed gentle. Rebecca, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. If you're in a situation where stable housing would make things easier. I'm fine, Rebecca interrupted. I have housing. The lie came out automatically. Defensive. Jennifer studied her. Okay, I just wanted you to know the resource exists. If anything changes, it won't. But thank you. Rebecca stood, hoping the conversation was over. One more thing. She froze. There's a company event next month. Casual, family-friendly. Bring your kids if you want. There'll be food, games. Might be fun for them. That sounds nice. Thank you. Rebecca walked out before Jennifer could say anything else. Back to her desk. Back to the spreadsheets. But her hands were shaking. They knew, or suspected, and that was almost worse, because pity was the one thing Rebecca absolutely could not handle. That night, parked in the usual spot, Lily asked a question that broke her. Mom, when we move into our apartment, can I have my own room? Rebecca looked in the rearview mirror at her daughter's hopeful face. We'll see, baby. It depends on what we can afford. Even just a small one. I could share with Cameron if we have to, but it will be nice to have a place for my books. I'll do my best. Lily smiled. I know you will. And Rebecca realized with crushing clarity that her children still believed in her, still trusted that she'd keep her promises, still thought she had control over any of this. The weight of that faith was unbearable. Friday morning, Rebecca arrived at work to find an envelope on her desk. Her name handwritten on the front. She opened it carefully. Inside was a check, made out to her, for $5,000, and a note in unfamiliar handwriting. For the single mother with 2 kids who deserves a front door she can lock. You've earned this. No strings attached. Rebecca stared at it. Read it again. $5,000. Enough for the apartment now. Enough to stop sleeping in the car tonight. Enough to give her kids back their childhood. And she couldn't accept it. Not like this. Not as charity from someone who didn't even have the courage to sign their name. She walked straight to Jennifer's office. Do you know anything about this? She held up the check. Jennifer's face showed genuine confusion. No. What is it? Someone left me $5,000. Anonymously. Jennifer's eyes widened. Rebecca, I have no idea who. I need to return it. Why? Because I didn't earn it. Because it's pity. Because if I take this, it means I'm exactly what people think I am. A charity case who can't take care of her own kids. Jennifer stood, came around the desk. Rebecca, there's no shame in accepting help. There is when you didn't ask for it. Whoever did this clearly cares about. They don't know me. They don't get to decide what I need. Rebecca's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I can't. She left before Jennifer could respond. Went to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and cried angry, frustrated, exhausted tears. Because part of her wanted to keep that check so badly it physically hurt. Wanted to cash it and drive straight to an apartment complex and sign a lease and tell her kids they were going home. But a bigger part of her knew that if she did, she'd lose the one thing she had left. Her dignity. The ability to look her children in the eye and say, I did this. I got us out. Not someone else. Not charity. Not pity. Me. She wiped her face, composed herself, and went back to her desk. Placed the check in her purse. She'd find out who sent it, and she'd return it. What Rebecca didn't know was that 3 floors above her, Dominic was in his office having a very different conversation. You did what? Jennifer demanded. Dominic didn't look up from his computer. I helped someone who needed it. Anonymously? With a check for $5,000? Yes. Do you have any idea how that looks? I don't care how it looks. Jennifer crossed her arms. She's trying to return it. That got his attention. What? She came to my office. Upset. Said she can't accept charity from a stranger. Dominic leaned back in his chair. I should have known. You should have talked to her first. If I talked to her, she would have said no. And maybe you should have respected that. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. She's sleeping in her car, Jennifer. I know. Her kids are sleeping in that car. I know. And we're all just supposed to pretend not to notice? No. We're supposed to offer help in a way that doesn't humiliate the person we're trying to help. That's what I was doing. By throwing money at her? That's not help, Dominic. That's ego. The words hit harder than he expected. I know what you were trying to do. But you're making this about you. about what makes you feel better, not about what she actually needs. Then what does she need? Respect, time, the chance to do this herself. You already gave her the job. That was the help. The rest, she'll figure out. What if she can't? Then you offer again. But you do it face to face, with honesty, and you let her say no if that's what she needs. Dominic stared out the window. I don't know how to do that. Jennifer's expression softened. Start by telling her the truth. About? About who you are. About the job. About why you actually care. She'll hate me. Maybe. Or maybe she'll finally trust you. Jennifer left. Dominic sat alone in his office, staring at the city below. She was right. He'd made this about himself. About fixing a problem. About being the hero. Not about Rebecca. Not about what she actually wanted. Just about making himself feel less guilty for having so much while others had so little. And that was worse than doing nothing. That evening, Dominic did something he hadn't done in months. He left work early, drove to the Morrison Street area, and waited. At 6:15, the silver Honda Civic pulled into the back lot. Same spot, same routine. Rebecca got out, helped the kids out, locked the doors. They walked toward the library. Dominic followed at a distance. Watched through the window as Rebecca sat with Lily and Cameron at a table. Homework spread out. Lily reading aloud. Cameron practicing writing letters. Rebecca helping both of them with infinite patience despite exhaustion written in every line of her body. She coughed twice, covered her mouth, kept helping. At 7:30, they packed up, walked back to the car. Dominic waited until they drove to a fast food place. Watched Rebecca count out exact change for 3 small value meals. Watched them eat in the parking lot. Then drive back to Morrison Street. Park, turn off the engine, and settle in for another night. Dominic sat in his car across the lot, invisible in the darkness, and realized Jennifer was absolutely right. He wasn't helping. He was interfering, playing God with someone's life because he could, because he had money and power and influence. But none of that gave him the right to decide what Rebecca needed. Only she could decide that. And if she decided she needed to do this herself, then his job wasn't to override that decision. It was to respect it, even if it killed him to watch. The next morning, Rebecca walked into work with the check in an envelope. She'd stayed up half the night trying to figure out who'd sent it. There was no signature, no name, just a note, and $5,000 that represented everything she wanted and everything she refused to accept. She went straight to David's office. "Do you know who gave me this?" She held up the envelope. David looked at it, then at her. "No idea. Is it important? I need to return it." "Why?" Rebecca's jaw tightened. "Because I don't take handouts. Sometimes a gift isn't a handout. Sometimes it's just kindness. I didn't ask for kindness. Maybe that's exactly why someone gave it." Rebecca left without responding. Tried Sarah next. Same question. Same answer. "No idea. Sorry." By lunch, she'd asked 6 people. Nobody knew anything, or they were all lying. She was about to give up when she passed Dominic in the hallway. They'd never officially met. She'd seen him around. Everyone knew who he was. Founder. So, billionaire. The man who'd built Crosstech from nothing. He nodded as they passed. "Ms. Walsh." She stopped. "You know my name?" "I know all our employees' names. All 3,000 of them." Dominic smiled slightly. "I try." Rebecca studied him. There was something familiar about him. Something she couldn't place. "Have we met before?" "I don't think so. You look familiar." "I have one of those faces." Rebecca was about to let it go. Then she remembered. The Starbucks. The man who'd bought hot chocolate for her kids. Who'd told her about the job. Her eyes widened. "You." Dominic's expression didn't change. "Me. You're the one who. Can we talk? Somewhere private?" Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. They walked to an empty conference room. Dominic closed the door. "Before you say anything, I want to apologize." "For what?" "For overstepping. For the check. I thought I was helping, but I realize now that I was being presumptuous, and that was you?" Dominic met her eyes. "Yes." Rebecca's hands started shaking. With anger or relief, she wasn't sure. "Why?" "Because I saw you. In that parking lot. With your kids. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So you felt sorry for me." "No. I felt admiration." Rebecca laughed bitterly. "Admiration. Right. You're working 2 jobs, keeping your kids in school with perfect attendance, getting gold stars while living in a car. Do you have any idea how extraordinary that is? It's not extraordinary. It's survival. It's both. Rebecca shook her head. You don't get it. You can't possibly understand what it's like to. You're right. I can't. I grew up with every advantage. I've never worried about where I'd sleep or whether my kids would eat. And that's exactly why I wanted to help. By throwing money at me? By giving you an option you didn't have before. I didn't ask for your options. I know. Dominic's voice softened. And I'm sorry. I should have talked to you first. Should have asked what you needed instead of assuming. That was wrong. Rebecca stared at the check in her hand. I can't take this. Why not? Because if I do, it means I failed. It means I couldn't do on my own. Or it means you're strong enough to accept help when it's offered. It's not the same thing, isn't it? They stood in silence. Then Dominic spoke again. Keep it. Don't keep it. That's entirely your choice. But don't reject it because of pride. Reject it if it's actually wrong for you. But if the only thing stopping you is ego, then you're not protecting your dignity. You're protecting your pain. The words landed like a punch. You don't know me. You're right. I don't. But I know what it looks like when someone's so terrified of being seen as weak that they'd rather suffer than ask for help. How would you know that? Because I do the same thing. Every day. Different reasons, same result. Rebecca looked at him, really looked, and saw something she hadn't expected. Loneliness. Deep, aching, carefully hidden loneliness. Why do you care? She asked quietly. Dominic took a breath. Because 15 years ago, I was sleeping on a friend's couch, eating ramen, maxing out credit cards to keep my company alive. And someone I barely knew gave me $10,000. No strings. Just said, pay it forward someday. Did you? Dominic smiled sadly. I forgot. For 15 years, I forgot. Built an empire, made billions, donated to charities, and told myself that was enough. Then I saw you in that parking lot. Saw your kids. And I remembered what it felt like to need help and be too proud to ask for it. So this is about you feeling better. Maybe. Partly. But it's also about me finally doing what I should have done years ago. Seeing someone who needs help and offering it without conditions. Rebecca looked at the check again. $5,000. A front door her kids could lock. Beds instead of car seats. A kitchen instead of fast food bags. Everything she'd been fighting for. Right here in her hand. All she had to do was say yes. I need time, she said finally. Take all the time you need. And if I say no, then I'll respect that. Rebecca nodded. Okay. She left. Went back to her desk. Worked the rest of the day in a fog. That night, parked in the usual spot, she stared at the check in the dim light of her phone. Lily and Cameron were already asleep in the back. Cameron's arm draped over Lily protectively. Lily's rabbit clutched her chest. 2 beautiful, innocent children who deserved so much better than this. Who deserved a mother strong enough to give them a home. Even if that meant accepting help. Even if it meant letting go of the story she'd been telling herself. The story that said she had to do everything alone to prove she wasn't a failure. Maybe Dominic was right. Maybe refusing help wasn't strength. Maybe it was just fear wearing a pride costume. Rebecca looked at her sleeping children, made a decision, and for the first time in months, she slept through the night. The next morning, Rebecca walked into Dominic's office. His assistant tried to stop her. Ma'am, you can't just... It's okay, Melissa, Dominic called from inside. Send her in. Rebecca entered, closed the door, stood there holding the check. Dominic waited. I'll take it, she said. On one condition. Name it. It's a loan. I pay you back. With interest. Rebecca, that's the condition. Otherwise, I walk out right now, and we never speak of this again. Dominic studied her, saw that she meant it. 10 years. No interest. And if you decide not to pay it back, I'm not coming after you. 5 years. Standard interest rate. And I will pay it back. Dominic smiled. You drive a hard bargain. I'm an accountant. It's what I do. Deal. They shook hands. Rebecca's grip was firm despite the tremor she couldn't quite hide. Thank you, she said quietly. You're welcome. I still think you're crazy for doing this. Probably. But thank you anyway. She turned to leave. Rebecca? She stopped. Your kids are lucky to have you. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm the lucky one. Then she left, and Dominic sat in his office, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Real, genuine purpose. Not profits. Not growth. Not acquisitions. Just the simple satisfaction of helping someone who deserved it. And it felt better than any deal he'd ever closed. That afternoon, Rebecca signed a lease on a 2-bedroom apartment. Modest. Ground floor. Nothing fancy. But it had a kitchen. 2 bedrooms. A bathroom with an actual tub. And a front door with a lock. She picked up Lily and Cameron from school and drove them straight there. The kids were confused. "Mom, where are we going?" Rebecca pulled up to the building, turned off the engine, and smiled. "Home." Lily's eyes went wide. "What?" "We're going home. Our home." Cameron started bouncing. "We got the house. We got an apartment. Come on." She unlocked the door and let them run inside. Their footsteps echoed on the empty floors. Their laughter filled rooms that had been silent. Lily found her bedroom. Small but hers. She spun in a circle, arms wide. "This is mine. All yours." Cameron ran from room to room. "This is ours. For real?" "For real." He crashed into Rebecca's legs, hugging tight. "Best day ever." Rebecca knelt down, pulling both kids into her arms. "We're going to be okay now." And for the first time in a very long time, she actually believed it. That night, they slept on the floor. No furniture yet, just blankets and pillows. But they were inside. Safe. Warm. Home. Rebecca lay awake, listening to her children breathe. Even peaceful breaths. No sivering. No cramped positions. Just sleep. Real sleep. And she cried. But this time, they were tears of relief. Of gratitude. Of hope. She thought about Dominic. About his loneliness. About the fact that he'd seen her when everyone else had looked away. And she made a promise. She'd pay him back every penny. Not because he expected it, but because it mattered to her. Because accepting help didn't mean giving up her dignity. It meant being strong enough to rebuild. And that's exactly what she was going to do. The following weeks blurred together in the best possible way. Rebecca worked, saved, paid down debt, bought furniture piece by piece. A couch from a thrift store, beds from a clearance sale, a kitchen table someone was giving away for free. Nothing matched. Everything was perfect. Lily decorated her room with drawings from school. Cameron built a fort out of moving boxes and refused to let Rebecca throw them away. They ate dinner at an actual table, did homework with proper lighting, took baths instead of washing up in public restrooms. All the tiny things people took for granted felt like miracles. And Rebecca saw Dominic differently now. Not as the CEO, not as the billionaire, but as the man who'd stopped long enough to see her, who'd cared enough to help, who'd been brave enough to admit he was lonely too. They started having coffee occasionally, just talking. About work at first, then about life. He told her about building Crosstech, about the sacrifices, about waking up one day with everything he'd wanted and realizing it wasn't enough. She told him about her husband, about the accident, about learning to be both parents at once, about the guilt of not being enough. They were different people from different worlds, but they understood each other in ways that mattered. And slowly, carefully, something shifted. One Friday afternoon, Dominic knocked on Rebecca's desk. "You busy?" "Always." "What's up?" "I was wondering if you and the kids wanted to come to something tomorrow." "The company event?" "No. Something smaller. I'm hosting a thing at my place. Casual. Just a few people." Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "You're inviting me to your house. If that's weird, forget I." "No, it's not weird. It's nice. We'd love to." Dominic smiled. "Great. I'll send you the address." The next day, Rebecca drove to Dominic's penthouse with Lily and Cameron. The building was intimidating. Doorman, marble lobby, elevator that required a key card. Cameron's eyes were huge. "This is where he lives?" "Apparently." "Is he a king?" Rebecca laughed. "Something like that." The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Dominic was waiting. "Welcome." Lily and Cameron stood frozen. The space was enormous. Windows everywhere. Art on the walls. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. "You guys hungry?" Dominic asked. "How about pizza?" "And soda. And I think there are cookies somewhere." Cameron's face lit up. "Really? Really?" He ran toward the kitchen. Lily followed more slowly, still taking everything in. "This is where you live?" Yeah. Alone? Yeah. That's sad. Dominic laughed. You're not wrong. Lily wandered off to join her brother. Dominic looked at Rebecca. That's the most honest thing anyone's said to me in years. Kids don't have filters. It's refreshing. They ate pizza on the balcony. Talked about school. About Cameron's dream of building rockets. About Lily's latest math test, straight A. Dominic asked questions. Really listened. And Rebecca realized this wasn't about showing off. This was about him wanting connection. Wanted to be part of something real. After dinner, Cameron asked the question Rebecca had been dreading. Are you and my mom dating? Cameron. Rebecca's face turned red. Dominic didn't miss a beat. No, Boothie. We're friends. Oh, Cameron considered this. You should date her. She's really nice. And she makes good sandwiches. Lily elbowed him. Cam, you can't just say that. Why not? Because it's embarrassing. Rebecca covered her face. I'm so sorry. Dominic was grinning. Don't be. And for the record, I'm sure she does make good sandwiches. The best, Cameron confirmed. Later, after the kids fell asleep on Dominic's ridiculously expensive couch, he and Rebecca stood on the balcony looking at the city lights. Your kids are amazing, he said. Thank you. You've done an incredible job with them. I'm just trying not to screw them up too badly. You're succeeding. They were quiet for a moment. Then Rebecca spoke. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why are you really alone? You're successful, smart, kind. You could have anyone. Dominic leaned on the railing. I spent 15 years building a company. Told myself relationships could wait. Then one day, I looked up and realized I'd forgotten how to connect with people. Every interaction became transactional. Everyone wanted something. And I couldn't tell the difference between genuine connection and strategic networking anymore. So you stopped trying? I stopped believing it was possible. And now? Dominic looked at her. Now I'm starting to think maybe I was wrong. The moment stretched between them. Not uncomfortable, just honest. We should probably get the kids home, Rebecca said finally. Yeah. They gathered the sleeping children. Dominic walked them to the car. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting us. Dominic hesitated. Maybe we could do this again sometime? Rebecca smiled. We'd like that. She drove home thinking about loneliness. About how it looked different depending on your bank account, but felt the same either way. And she thought maybe, just maybe, she and Dominic were helping each other heal in ways neither of them had expected. That night, tucking Lily into bed, her daughter asked a question. Mom, do you like him? Who? Mr. Cross. He's my boss, honey. That's not an answer. Rebecca sat on the edge of the bed. He's a good person. He helped us when we needed it. Do you think Dad would like him? The question caught Rebecca off guard. She hadn't talked about their father in months. I think Dad would appreciate anyone who was kind to you guys. Lily nodded. I think he's lonely. Mr. Cross? Yeah. He has that big house and nobody to share it with. That's sad. Rebecca kissed her daughter's forehead. You're very perceptive. What's perceptive mean? It means you see things other people miss. Lily smiled. Like you. Like me. After Lily fell asleep, Rebecca sat in her own room, the first bedroom she'd had in months. Thought about everything that had happened. 3 months ago, she'd been sleeping in a car. Now, she had an apartment, a job, hope, and maybe, possibly, the beginning of something she hadn't expected. She pulled out her phone, texted Dominic. Thank you for today. The kids had a great time. His response came quickly. Thank you for coming. So did I. She stared at the screen. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. You're not as alone as you think. Sent it before she could second guess. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, his response. Neither are you. Rebecca smiled, set her phone down, and slept better than she had in years. The next morning was Sunday. Rebecca made pancakes. Actual pancakes. In her own kitchen, with ingredients she'd bought with money she'd earned. The kids devoured them. Best breakfast ever, Cameron declared. Better than McDonald's? Way better. Lily helped clean up without being asked. Then they spent the afternoon at the park. Nothing special, just swings and slides and sunshine. But it felt extraordinary. Because they could. Because they weren't hiding. Because they were just a normal family doing normal things. And that was everything. Later that week, Rebecca made her first loan payment to Dominic. She'd calculated the amount carefully. Set up automatic transfers. treated it like any other debt. Dominic tried to refuse it. You don't have to. We had a deal. Rebecca, seriously, a deal is a deal. He accepted it, not because he needed the money, but because he understood what it meant to her. And their friendship deepened. Coffee turned into lunch sometimes. Lunch turned into occasional dinners. Always casual, always with the kids, never crossing any lines. But the connection was undeniable. 3 months after moving into the apartment, Rebecca got a promotion. Junior accountant to senior accountant. $20,000 raise. Her own office. Real decision-making authority. She celebrated with Lily and Cameron at their favorite pizza place. The same one that had felt like a luxury months ago. Now it was just dinner. Because their baseline had shifted. Stability had become normal. And that was the greatest gift. That night, Rebecca called Dominic. I got promoted. I know. I signed off on it. Wait, you earned it, Rebecca. David recommended you. I just approved his recommendation. Still, thank you. Stop thanking me for things you accomplish yourself. Fine, but I'm buying you coffee to celebrate. Deal. They met the next morning at the Starbucks. The same one where this had all started. Rebecca ordered 2 coffees. Paid with her own money. No counting change. No anxiety about the cost. Just normal. They sat outside. Same curb where she used to feed her kids peanut butter sandwiches. Different everything else. This is surreal, she said. What? 6 months ago, I was sleeping in my car in this parking lot. Now I'm sitting here celebrating a promotion. You did that. We did that. Dominic shook his head. I gave you an opportunity. You did everything else. You gave me more than an opportunity. You gave me hope. Dominic looked at her. You gave me something too. What? A reason to care about something other than quarterly earnings. Rebecca laughed. Happy to help. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Dominic spoke. Can I tell you something? Of course. I haven't felt this content in 15 years. Because of the company? Because of you. Because of this. Because for the first time since I started CrossTech, I feel like I'm part of something that actually matters. Rebecca set down her coffee. You matter, Dominic. I mean outside of business. You matter outside of business too. He met her eyes. Doi. Yes. How do you know? Because I see you. The same way you saw me. The weight of those words settled between them. Not romantic. Not yet. Just honest. Just 2 people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way. And were brave enough to admit it mattered. I should get back, Rebecca said finally. Team meeting at 10. Yeah, me too. They stood. Dominic? Yeah, thank you. For everything. He smiled. You've already said that. I know, but it bears repeating. She walked to her car. He watched her go, and both of them knew something was shifting, something neither of them was quite ready to name. But it was there, growing, becoming something real. That evening, Rebecca was helping Cameron with homework when Lily appeared in the doorway. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course, honey. Are you happy? Rebecca looked up from the math problems. Yes, baby. I am. Like really happy? Really happy. Why? Because you smile more now, and you don't look scared anymore. Rebecca's throat tightened. Was I scary before? Not scary. Just worried. All the time. But now you laugh at Cameron's jokes and sing in the kitchen, and you're just happier. Rebecca pulled Lily into a hug. We're all happier, aren't we? Yeah. You know why? Because we have a home? That's part of it. But also because we learned something important. What? That asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. Lily hugged her tighter. You're the bravest person I know. Rebecca kissed the top of her daughter's head. Right back at you, sweetheart. That night, after the kids were asleep, Rebecca stood at her kitchen window, looking out at the city. Thought about where she'd been, where she was now, where she might be going. And she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Gratitude. Not the desperate kind that came from narrowly avoiding disaster, but the deep, peaceful kind that came from genuinely appreciating what you had. Her phone buzzed. Text from Dominic. How's your evening? She smiled. Quiet. Yours? Empty. As usual. She hesitated, then typed. Want company? 3 dots. Always. Rebecca called her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who sometimes watched the kids. Any chance you could come over for an hour? Mrs. Patterson arrived 10 minutes later. Rebecca drove to Dominic's building, rode the elevator up, knocked on his door. He opened it, surprised. I thought you were kidding. Do I seem like I kid about empty evenings? Fair point. Cool. They sat on the balcony. No agenda. No heavy conversation. Just two friends enjoying the quiet. After a while, Dominic spoke. Can I tell you something weird? Please. This is the first time in 5 years someone's shown up just because they wanted to, not because they needed something or wanted to network or had an angle. That's not weird. That's sad. Both. Well, for the record, I'm here because I like your company, and because empty evenings are better when they're shared, even with a billionaire workaholic, especially with a billionaire workaholic who's learning how to be a person again. Dominic laughed. Is it that obvious? Little bit. They talked until midnight. About everything and nothing. About childhood dreams and adult realities. About the gap between who we think we'll become and who we actually are. And somewhere in that conversation, Rebecca realized something. She wasn't just grateful to Dominic. She genuinely cared about him. Not as a benefactor. Not as a boss. As a person. A complicated, lonely, surprisingly kind person who'd seen her at her lowest and helped her stand back up. And maybe that was the beginning of something worth exploring. But not tonight. Tonight was just about being present. About proving that connection was possible. That loneliness didn't have to be permanent. That sometimes the people we help end up helping us right back. She left around 12:30. Drove home through empty streets. Paid Mrs. Patterson. Checked on her sleeping children. And went to bed feeling lighter than she had in years. Because for the first time since her husband died, Rebecca Walsh wasn't just surviving. She was actually living. And that made all the difference. Monday morning brought new challenges. A difficult client. A deadline that got moved up. Systems that crashed at the worst possible moment. But Rebecca handled it. Because she wasn't operating from a place of desperation anymore. She had margin. Mental. Emotional. Financial. And that margin made everything easier. David stopped by her office around 3. You handled the Morrison account beautifully. Thank you. Seriously. The client was impressed. Asked for you specifically on the next project. Rebecca felt pride swell in her chest. Real pride. Earned pride. I'd love that. It's yours. After he left, Rebecca allowed herself a moment. Looked around her office. Her name on the door. Her desk. Her projects. Her success. She'd done this. With help, yes. But she'd done the work. Made the choices. Pushed through the impossible. And come out the other side stronger. Her phone buzzed. Text from Lily's school. Lily had won the school math competition. First place. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. She called Lily immediately. I heard. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. Can we celebrate? Absolutely. How about dinner wherever you want? Really? Really? Can we invite Mr. Cross? Rebecca hesitated. Why? Because he's nice. And he doesn't have kids to celebrate with. The simplicity of her daughter's empathy broke something open in Rebecca's chest. Okay, I'll ask him. She texted Dominic. Lily won her school math competition. We're celebrating tonight. Want to join? His response was immediate. I'd be honored. They met at a casual restaurant. Nothing fancy, just burgers and milkshakes. But Lily beamed the entire time. Told the story of the competition 3 different ways. Showed off her certificate. Cameron bragged about his sister like he'd won himself. And Dominic listened with genuine interest. Asked questions. Celebrated with them. Like family. Watching him interact with her kids, Rebecca felt something shift. This wasn't just friendship anymore. This was something deeper. Something that scared her. Because caring about someone meant risking loss. And she'd already lost so much. But looking at Dominic's face as Cameron told a rambling story about recess, she thought maybe the risk was worth it. Maybe opening her heart again didn't mean forgetting her past. Maybe it meant honoring it by choosing to keep living fully. After dinner, walking to their cars, Dominic pulled Rebecca aside. Thank you for including me tonight. Of course. I mean it. I can't remember the last time I felt like part of something real. You're a part of something real. Am I? Rebecca took a breath. Yes. You're part of our lives now. And we're not going anywhere. Dominic's expression softened. Good. Because neither am I. They stood there in the parking lot, just looking at each other, understanding passing between them without words. This was happening. Whatever this was, and they were both choosing it. Slowly, carefully, but intentionally. "Mom," Cameron called. "Can we get ice cream?" Rebecca laughed. "We just had milkshakes." "But I'm still hungry." "You're always hungry." She looked back at Dominic. "Want to come? To watch a 5-year-old eat his body weight in ice cream?" "Exactly. Wouldn't miss it." They went for ice cream. And it was perfect. Not because anything extraordinary happened, but because ordinary had become extraordinary. Because the simple act of being together, of choosing each other's company, of building something real from nothing, was its own kind of miracle. And as Rebecca watched Dominic laugh at one of Cameron's terrible jokes, she realized something. This was what healing looked like. Not dramatic, not sudden, just slow, steady progress toward something better, toward connection, toward hope, toward a future she'd stopped believing was possible. And she was finally ready to believe again, to trust again, to let someone in again. Because the greatest miracle doesn't begin with millions of dollars. It begins with someone finally stopping and truly seeing the people everyone else walks past. Dominic had seen her, and in doing so, had saved more than just her circumstances. He'd saved her capacity to hope, and that was priceless. The weeks that followed felt like watching a flower bloom in time-lapse. Slow enough to miss if you weren't paying attention. Fast enough to take your breath away when you looked back. Rebecca's life had found a rhythm. Work during the day, challenging but rewarding. Evenings with Lily and Cameron, homework and dinner and bedtime stories. And increasingly, time with Dominic. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became dinner. Dinner became weekends at the park with the kids. It wasn't dating. Not officially. But it was something. Something neither of them wanted a label, yet because labels made things complicated. And this was beautifully simple. One Saturday afternoon, Dominic showed up at Rebecca's apartment with a toolbox. "What's that for?" she asked. "You mentioned your kitchen cabinet was broken." "I mentioned that once. 3 weeks ago." "I have an excellent memory. You're a billionaire. You don't fix cabinets." Dominic grinned. "I built my first prototype in a garage with borrowed tools. I absolutely fix cabinets." He spent 2 hours on her kitchen floor, reassembling the hinge mechanism while Cameron handed him tools and asked 8 million questions. "Why is that screw different?" "Because it needs to hold more weight." "Why?" "Because the cabinet door is heavy." "Why?" "Because it's made of solid wood." "Why?" Dominic laughed. "Has anyone ever told you that you ask a lot of questions? Mom says curious people become smart people." "Your mom is absolutely right." Rebecca watched from the doorway, something warm spreading through her chest. This man, who could buy any cabinet in the world, was on his hands and knees fixing hers. Not because he had to, because he wanted to, because he cared. "There," Dominic said, finally testing the door. "Good as new." Cameron clapped. "You fixed it. Team effort, buddy. Can you fix other stuff?" "Probably." "Why?" "My race car is broken." "Cameron." Rebecca's voice held a warning. "Mr. Cross isn't here to fix all your toys." "Actually," Dominic stood, dusting off his hands, "I'd love to see this race car." Cameron grabbed his hand and dragged him toward his bedroom. Rebecca followed, shaking her head. In Cameron's room, Dominic sat cross-legged on the floor, examining a small wooden car with a wheel that wouldn't turn. "I made this at school," Cameron explained. "But it broke. This is really good work." "Did you sand it yourself?" "Yeah. Teacher helped." "Well, I think we can fix this. We just need some glue and maybe a toothpick for reinforcement." "I'll get the glue." Cameron ran off. Dominic looked up at Rebecca. "Is this okay? I'm not overstepping?" "You're absolutely overstepping, but in a good way. Good overstepping." "I'll take it." Cameron returned with glue, toothpicks, and his entire collection of broken things. "Can you fix all of these?" Dominic looked at the pile, then at Cameron's hopeful face. "Let's find out." They spent the next hour repairing toys, gluing, reinforcing, problem-solving together. Lily joined them, bringing her own project. A birdhouse she'd started building but couldn't figure out. Dominic helped her measure angles, explained why certain pieces fit certain ways, treated her questions with the same seriousness he'd give a board meeting. And Rebecca realized she was watching her children experience something they'd been missing. A positive male presence. Someone who showed up, who listened, who cared. not as a replacement for their father, but as someone who added value to their lives simply by being present. That evening, after Dominic left, Lily crawled onto the couch next to Rebecca. "I really like him, Mom." "Me too. Like really, really like him." Rebecca looked at her daughter. "What are you trying to say? Are you going to marry him?" Rebecca nearly choked. "What? No, we're just friends. Friends who spend every weekend together." "We don't spend every weekend together. Last weekend, weekend before that." "Okay, point taken. But that doesn't mean marriage. Would it be bad if you did? Marry him, I mean?" Rebecca pulled Lily closer. "No, it wouldn't be bad. But it's way too soon to think about that. We're still figuring out what this is. Do you love him?" The question hit harder than expected. Did she? She cared about him, looked forward to seeing him, felt lighter when he was around. But love? "I don't know yet, honey. Maybe someday." Lily nodded, satisfied. "Okay, but for the record, I think he loves you." "What makes you say that?" "The way he looks at you. Like you're the most important person in the room." Rebecca's heart skipped. "You're very observant." "I know." Lily hopped off the couch and went to her room, leaving Rebecca alone with thoughts she'd been avoiding. What if Lily was right? What if Dominic did have feelings for her? And more terrifying, what if she had feelings for him too? The next morning, Rebecca called her sister. They'd been estranged for years after a fight about Rebecca's late husband. But recently, they'd started rebuilding. Small steps. Tentative conversation. A relationship scarred, but healing. "Hey, Jess. Hey, yourself. What's up? I need advice." Her sister laughed. "This should be good." "What kind of advice?" "The relationship kind." "Oh, this is definitely good." "Speed." Rebecca told her about Dominic. All of it. The parking lot. The job. The loan. The growing friendship. The feelings she couldn't quite name. Jessica listened without interrupting, then said exactly what Rebecca needed to hear. "You're terrified. Obviously. Because the last time you let yourself love someone, you lost him." Rebecca's throat tightened. "Yeah, but here's the thing. You could spend the rest of your life protecting yourself from potential pain. Or you could take a risk on something real. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does?" The simplicity of that question stopped Rebecca cold. What if it does work out? What if she let herself be happy? What if this man, who'd shown up in her life at exactly the right moment, was exactly what she needed? Not to save her. She'd save herself, but to walk alongside her, to choose her, to build something together. "Jess." "Yeah, I think I might be falling in love with him." "Good. You deserve that." "I am scared." "Of course you are. Love is terrifying, but it's also worth it." They talked for another hour. About fear and risk and second chances. About honoring the past while choosing the future. About the difference between being rescued and being seen. By the time they hung up, Rebecca had clarity. She was falling for Dominic. And instead of fighting it, maybe it was time to lean into it. That afternoon, she texted him. "Are you free tonight?" "For you?" "Always." "Can you come over after the kids go to bed?" "I want to talk." The three dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Should I be worried?" "No. Just want to talk." "Okay. See you at 8. Rebecca spent the rest of the day nervous, second-guessing herself, wondering if she was making a mistake. But by the time 8 o'clock came, she was certain. This was right. Scary, but right. Dominic arrived with wine and chocolate. I didn't know if this was a good talk or a bad talk, so I brought both bases covered. Rebecca laughed despite her nerves. "Good talk. Mostly." They sat on the couch. Rebecca took a breath. "So I've been thinking." "Dangerous." "Shut up. I've been thinking about us. About what this is. And I realize we've been dancing around something without actually addressing it." Dominic set down his wine. "I know. You do." "Rebecca, I've been in love with you for 2 months. I've just been terrified to say it because I didn't want to scare you off or make things complicated or ruin what we have." Rebecca stared at him. "You're in love with me?" "Completely. Probably have been since that first morning when you told me you didn't need my pity. You were so fierce and proud and strong. And I thought, this is the most remarkable person I've ever met. I was a mess. You were magnificent. I was living in my car. You were surviving impossible circumstances while keeping your kids happy and healthy. That's not a mess. That's a warrior." Rebecca felt tears building. "I think I'm falling in love with you too. And it terrifies me." "Why?" Because last time I loved someone, I lost them. And I don't know if I can survive that again. Dominic took her hand. I can't promise you won't lose me. None of us can promise that. But I can promise that every day I have, I'll choose you. I'll show up. I'll be present. I'll love your kids like they're my own. And I'll do everything in my power to build something real with you. Rebecca's tears spilled over. That's a big promise. I'm a billionaire. I'm used to big. She laughed through the tears. You're ridiculous. I'm serious. I've spent 15 years building a company. I want to spend the next 15 building a life. With you, if you'll have me. This is crazy. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in a parking lot. And now you're here, in your apartment, with your kids safe and happy, with a career you've earned, with a future you've built. You did that. And I just want to be part of what comes next. Rebecca looked at their joined hands, at this man who'd seen her at her worst and chosen to stay, who'd helped without diminishing, who'd loved her children without agenda, who'd given her space to heal while making it clear he wasn't going anywhere. Okay, let's do this. Let's be crazy and take a risk and see what happens. Dominic's smile was brighter than she'd ever seen it. Yeah. He pulled her into a kiss. Gentle, certain, full of promise. And Rebecca let herself fall. Into the kiss. Into the moment. Into the terrifying, beautiful possibility of love. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. So what now? Rebecca asked. Now, I take you on an actual date. Not just hanging out. An actual, planned, romantic date. I haven't been on a date in 6 years. Then I better make it good. No pressure. All the pressure. They laughed and sat together on the couch. Rebecca's head on Dominic's shoulder. His arm around her. Two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way and were brave enough to see where it led. Here's what I need you to understand before we continue. This story isn't just about one family getting help. It's about two broken people finding wholeness in each other. Dominic thought he needed success to matter. Rebecca thought she needed to do everything alone to be strong. They were both wrong. And in finding each other, they discovered that the greatest strength isn't independence. It's the courage to let someone in. If this is resonating with you, if you've ever been afraid to trust again after being hurt, I need you to know something. Your story isn't over. The pain you've survived doesn't define your future. And the walls you've built to protect yourself might be the very things keeping out the love you deserve. Leave a comment and tell me about a time someone showed up for you when you needed it most. Share this video with someone who's afraid to hope again. And subscribe to Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins, because stories like this remind us that healing is possible, love is real, and second chances exist. Now let's talk about what happened when Dominic decided to turn his personal revelation into something bigger. 3 months into their relationship, Dominic started noticing things he'd been blind to his entire life. The homeless population near his office. The single parents working multiple jobs in his company. The families one emergency away from disaster. He'd always known poverty existed, but knowing and seeing are different things. Rebecca had given him new eyes. One evening, over dinner at her apartment, he brought it up. I've been thinking about something. Rebecca looked up from helping Cameron with his spaghetti. Oh, what if Crosstech started a housing initiative? Real, sustainable housing assistance for families in crisis. That's a big undertaking. I know, but we have the resources, the infrastructure, and I finally have a reason that matters. Me, you, and every family like yours that I've been walking past my entire life without actually seeing. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. What would it look like? Dominic pulled out his phone, showing her notes he'd been making. Temporary housing for families in transition. Subsidized apartments while they get stable. Job training programs. Childcare assistance. Financial literacy courses. Everything needed to actually break the cycle instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it. Rebecca read through his notes, eyes widening. This is incredible. It's ambitious. It's necessary. Dominic looked at her. I want you involved. You've lived this. You know what actually helps versus what sounds good on paper. I'm not a housing expert. You're better than an expert. You're someone who's been there. Rebecca considered it. Okay, I'm in. They spent the next 2 months building the proposal. Late nights after the kids were asleep. Researching existing programs. identifying gaps, creating something comprehensive, something that treated people with dignity instead of pity. Dominic presented it to his board on a Tuesday morning. The Sterling Family Housing Initiative, named after Rebecca's late husband, a tribute to the man who'd loved her first. Dominic had suggested it. Rebecca had cried for an hour. The board was skeptical. "This is a significant financial commitment," one member said. "Yes, it is, with no clear ROI. The ROI is human lives. Families stabilized. Children who don't have to sleep in cars. That's the return. This isn't what Cross-Tech does." Dominic stood. "Then maybe it's time Cross-Tech does more than make money. Maybe it's time we actually matter." The room went silent. "I'm not asking permission. I'm informing you of a decision I've made. We have the capital. We have the infrastructure. And we have a moral obligation to do more than exist for profit." Another board member spoke up. "How much are we talking?" "Initial investment, $50 million. Annual operating budget, $20 million. That's $70 million in year one." "Yes. For how many families?" "We estimate we can help 500 families in year one. More as we scale. That's $140,000 per family. It's comprehensive support. Housing, job training, childcare, financial counseling. Not just a handout. A hand up." The board debated for 2 hours. Dominic didn't budge. Finally, the chairman called for a vote. It passed. Barely, but it passed. Dominic called Rebecca immediately. "We got approval." She screamed. Actually screamed. Lily came running. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." That night, they celebrated. Just the four of them. Dominic, Rebecca, Lily, and Cameron. Pizza and sparkling cider. Toast to new beginnings. And Cameron's very serious question. "Does this mean other kids won't have to sleep in cars?" "That's exactly what it means, buddy." "Good, because that was really uncomfortable." Everyone laughed. But Dominic caught Rebecca's eye, saw the tears she was trying to hide, understood that this wasn't just about other families. This was about honoring what she'd been through, making sure her suffering mattered, turning her pain into purpose. Later, after the kids were in bed, Dominic and Rebecca sat on her small balcony. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For seeing me. For caring. For turning what happened to us into something that will help thousands of people. I should be thanking you. You gave me a reason to care about something beyond profit margins. We make a good team. We make a great team." He pulled out a small box. Rebecca's heart stopped. "Before you panic, it's not what you think." He opened it. Inside was a key. "What's this?" "A key to my place. I want you to have it. Not because I'm asking you to move in, but because I want you to know you always have a place. You and the kids. Always." Rebecca took the key, hands shaking. "This is a big step." "I know. Too big." "No. Just right." She kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. And in that moment, Rebecca understood something profound. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying your scars while still choosing to be open, still choosing to risk, still choosing to love. The Sterling Family Housing Initiative launched 4 months later. A renovated apartment complex in the Morrison Street area, the same neighborhood where Rebecca had parked her car. 50 units, all equipped with furniture, kitchen supplies, everything a family needed to start over. No application fees, no credit checks that would disqualify desperate people. Just a genuine need and a willingness to participate in the support programs. The first family moved in on a Friday. A mother with 3 kids, fleeing domestic violence. Everything they owned fit in 2 garbage bags. Rebecca met them at the door, handed them keys, watched the mother break down crying. "You're safe now," Rebecca said, "and you're not alone." The woman hugged her. "Thank you. Thank you so much. You're going to be okay. I promise." Because she knew. She'd been there, and she'd survived, and now she could help others do the same. Dominic watched from nearby, watched Rebecca comfort this stranger, watched her pour her experience into encouragement, and fell even more in love. That night, the local news covered the opening, interviewed Dominic, asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Mr. Cross, why housing? Why this initiative?" Dominic looked directly at the camera. "Because 6 months ago, I watched a single mother and her 2 children climb out of a car they'd been living in. And instead of walking past like I'd done hundreds of times before, I actually stopped and looked, really looked. And I realized that the only difference between her sleeping in that car and having a home was opportunity. She had the skills, the determination, the work ethic. She just needed a chance. So that's what this initiative is. A chance for families who are fighting battles most of us never see. Because everyone deserves a front door they can lock at night. And if we have the resources to make that happen, we have the responsibility to try. The clip went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed 15 million times. Other companies started reaching out, asking how they could help, offering to replicate the model. Within a month, there were plans for sterling housing initiatives in 12 cities. All because one man stopped and actually saw. Rebecca watched the interview from her apartment, tears streaming down her face. Not because she was in the story. She'd specifically asked not to be. But because Dominic had taken her worst moment and turned it into hope for thousands of others. Had proven that suffering doesn't have to be meaningless. That it can be transformed into purpose. That pain can become power. Lily sat beside her on the couch. That's us, isn't it? The family he's talking about. Yeah, baby. That's us. Are you mad? He told everyone. No, I am proud. Because we helped other people. Because we survived. And because our survival matters. Lily leaned against her. I'm glad we met him. Me too. Do you love him? Rebecca smiled. Yeah, I really do. Good. He loves you too. How do you know? Because he looks at you the way Daddy used to. The comment pierced Rebecca's heart. But in a good way. A healing way. Because Lily was right. Her late husband had loved her fiercely. Had seen her. Had chosen her. And now, years later, someone was doing that again. Not as a replacement. As a continuation. A new chapter in a story she'd thought was finished. That weekend, Dominic took Rebecca and the kids to the beach. 2 hours away. A small rental house right on the water. Cameron and Lily ran straight to the ocean. Screaming with joy. Building sandcastles. Chasing waves. Being kids. Rebecca and Dominic sat on the porch watching them. This is nice, she said. Yeah, I could get used to this. Good. Because I want to do this more often. Rebecca looked at him. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a life with you. Not just dates and weekends. An actual life. You, me, the kids. A family. We've only been together 6 months. I know. And I'm not asking you to decide today. I just want you to know that's where I'm headed. So if that's not where you're headed, tell me now. Rebecca was quiet, watching her children play, thinking about everything that had brought her to this moment. The loss, the struggle, the survival, the hope, and the man beside her who'd seen her at her worst and loved her anyway. I'm headed there too, she said finally. For a life with you. It scares me, but I want it. Dominic took her hand. We'll figure out together. Together. She liked the sound of that. Later that evening, after the kids were asleep, Dominic and Rebecca walked on the beach. Stars overhead. Waves crashing nearby. The perfect setting for honesty. Can I ask you something? Rebecca said. Anything. Do you ever regret it? Meeting me, I mean. Your life was simpler before. Dominic stopped walking. Turned to face her. My life was empty before. I had everything and nothing. You gave me something money can't buy. What's that? Purpose. Connection. A reason to wake up that isn't about quarterly earnings. You didn't complicate my life. You saved it. That's dramatic. It's true. He pulled her close. I love you, Rebecca Walsh. I love your strength and your pride and your ridiculous refusal to accept help even when you desperately need it. I love the way you love your kids. The way you fight for them. The way you've turned your pain into power. You're the most remarkable person I've ever met. And if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you. Rebecca's breath caught. That sounds a lot like a proposal. It's not. Not yet. When I propose, you'll know. But I wanted you to know what's in my heart. So there are no surprises. No doubts. I love you too. So much it terrifies me. Love should be a little terrifying, says the man who builds billion-dollar companies. Even I get scared sometimes. Of what? Losing you. Screwing this up. Not being enough. You're more than enough. So are you. They kissed. Long and slow and full of promise. Two people who'd found each other against all odds. And were choosing each other every single day. A year after the Sterling Family Housing Initiative launched, they held an anniversary event. All the families who'd been helped. All the donors who'd contributed. all the staff who'd made it work. A celebration of what's possible when people choose to care. Rebecca stood on stage, microphone in hand. She'd finally agreed to share her story publicly, not for attention, but because Dominic convinced her it would give hope to others. And hope was worth the vulnerability. "My name is Rebecca Walsh," she began. "And 18 months ago, I was sleeping in my car with my 2 children. The room went silent. I was a widow, a former accountant, a mother trying desperately to hold my family together while the world fell apart around me. I lost my job through no fault of my own, lost my savings to medical bills, lost my apartment because I couldn't make rent. And for 93 days, my children and I lived in a 1997 Honda Civic, parking in different lots every night, washing up in public bathrooms, pretending everything was fine." She paused, composing herself. "I tell you this not for pity, but for perspective. Because here's what I learned. Homelessness doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone. One bad break, one unexpected bill, one stroke of bad luck, and suddenly you're fighting for survival in ways you never imagined." Rebecca looked out at the crowd, saw faces of people who understood, who'd been there, who were still there. "But I also learned something else. That accepting help isn't weakness. That community matters. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone see your struggle." She found Dominic in the audience, smiled. "One man stopped in a parking lot and actually saw me. Not my circumstances. Me. The person fighting to survive. The mother refusing to give up. And instead of walking past like hundreds of others had, he offered help. Not in a way that humiliated, but in a way that honored my dignity while giving me a chance." Her voice cracked, and that chance changed everything. "It gave me a job, an apartment, stability for my kids. But more than that, it gave me hope. The belief that better days were possible, that I wasn't invisible, that my life mattered." The room was absolutely still. So to every family here tonight who's been helped by the Sterling Initiative, I want you to know something. You're not a charity case. You're not a statistic. You're warriors. You're survivors. And your story isn't over. This is just a chapter. A difficult chapter, but you'll get through it. And one day, you'll stand where I'm standing and tell someone else that hope is real. The applause started slowly, then built, until the entire room was standing, clapping, some crying, all connected by stories of struggle and survival. Rebecca stepped off the stage. Dominic met her, pulled her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you. I was terrified. You were perfect." That night, after the event, Dominic took Rebecca back to the beach house, the same one they'd visited a year ago. But this time, something was different. The house was lit with candles, rose petals on the floor, music playing softly. "What is this?" Rebecca asked. Dominic took her hand, led her to the porch, the same porch where they'd watched her kids play, where they'd talked about building a life together. "Rebecca, you've made this year the best of my life. You've taught me what actually matters. Shown me that success isn't about what you accumulate. It's about who you become. And I've become a better man because of you." He dropped to one knee. Rebecca gasped. "I'm not asking you to complete me. You're not my missing piece. You're my partner, my equal, the person I want to build a life with, who I want to raise Lily and Cameron with, who I want to wake up next to for the rest of my life." He pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. "Rebecca Walsh, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Rebecca's face. "Yes. God, yes." Dominic slipped the ring on her finger, stood, kissed her like his life depended on it. And in that moment, everything Rebecca had survived felt worth it. The struggle, the pain, the 93 days in a car. All of it, because it led her here, to this man, this moment, this future. They told the kids the next morning. Cameron cheered. "Does this mean Dominic's my dad now?" "If you want me to be," Dominic said carefully. "Do I have to call you Dad?" "You can call me whatever you're comfortable with." "Can I call you Dominic?" "Absolutely." Cameron considered this. "Okay, but you're still my dad. Just Dominic Dad." "I'll take it." Lily was quieter, but she hugged Dominic tight. "You make Mom happy," she whispered. "That's the plan." "Good. Don't mess it up." "I won't. I promise." They got married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. On the beach where Dominic proposed. Lily was the maid of honor. Cameron was the ring bearer. He took the job very seriously. Rebecca wore a simple white dress. Dominic wore a suit but took off his shoes for the sand. And when they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye watching. Rebecca went first. Dominic, you saw me when I was invisible. You helped me when I needed it most. But more than that, you respected me. You gave me a chance without taking away my dignity. You love my children like your own. And you showed me that second chances are real. I promise to love you, to choose you, to build a life with you that honors where we've been while embracing where we're going. Dominic's turn. Rebecca, before you, I had success without purpose, money without meaning. You taught me what actually matters. You showed me that the greatest investment isn't financial. It's human. You made me a better man. And I promise to spend the rest of my life proving myself worthy of your trust. To love your children, our children, with everything I have. To see you, every day, the way I saw you in that parking lot, as the most remarkable person I've ever known. They exchanged rings, kissed, became a family, officially, and the celebration that followed was full of joy, dancing, laughter, toasts that made everyone cry, and two children who finally understood what home really meant. Not a building, but belonging. Now, before we get to the end, I need to stop and address something, because some of you are watching this thinking it's too perfect, too fairy tale, too unrealistic. And I get it. Life doesn't usually work out this neatly. But here's what's real. Rebecca did the work. She survived impossible circumstances. She kept showing up for her kids. She never gave up. And when help was offered, she accepted it without letting it define her. That's not luck. That's courage. And Dominic? He made a choice. To see instead of ignore. To help instead of walk past. To use his resources for something that mattered. That's not fairy tale. That's responsibility. So if you're watching this from a car, from a shelter, from a place of struggle nobody else can see, I need you to hear me. Your story isn't over. The chapter you're in right now is not the ending. Keep fighting. Keep showing up. Keep believing better days exist. Because they do. And you're stronger than you know. Share this video with someone who needs hope. Comment below and tell me what you're fighting for. And subscribe to Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins. Because these stories matter. Your story matters. Now let's finish this. 5 years after they met in that Starbucks parking lot, Dominic and Rebecca stood on another stage. This time at the national launch of the Sterling Family Housing Initiative. What started as one building in one city had grown. 43 cities, 120 buildings, over 5,000 families helped, lives transformed, cycles broken, hope restored. A reporter asked the question everyone wanted answered. Mr. Cross, Ms. Walsh-Cross, what made you believe this was possible? Dominic looked at Rebecca. She smiled. He answered, because I watched one woman survive impossible circumstances while still getting her kids to school with perfect attendance, still making sure they smiled, still refusing to give up. And I realized that if she could do that with nothing, imagine what she could do with support. Imagine what thousands of families could do if we just gave them a chance. And that's what this is about. Giving people who are fighting invisible battles the chance they deserve. Not handouts, not pity, just opportunity with dignity. Rebecca added, we've all walked past someone struggling without actually seeing them. I know I did before I became that person. But here's the truth. We're all one bad break away from needing help. And when that moment comes, the only thing that matters is whether someone stops and sees us. Really sees us. Not our circumstances. Us. The journalist pressed. What do you want people to take from this initiative? Rebecca didn't hesitate. That kindness matters. That one person can make a difference. And that the greatest success isn't what you accumulate. It's what you give away. After the press conference, they walked to their car. Lily and Cameron waiting inside. Both teenagers now. Both thriving. Lily was planning to study engineering. Cameron wanted to be an architect. Both of them determined to build things that help people. Legacy in motion. Ready? Rebecca asked Dominic. Always. They drove home together. To the house they bought. Big enough for everyone. With a red door. Just like Cameron had drawn years ago. Even a dog. A rescue named Hope. Because of course they'd name her that. That evening, sitting on their porch, watching the kids play with Hope in the yard, Dominic took Rebecca's hand. Can you believe this is our life? Rebecca smiled. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. Any regrets? Not a single one. Dominic kissed her temple. Me neither. They sat in comfortable silence. Two people who'd found each other in a parking lot, who'd chosen each other every day since, who'd turned their individual pain into collective purpose and built something extraordinary, not because of money, but because of choice. The choice to see, to care, to help, to love. And that, ultimately, was the miracle. Not the resources, not the initiative, not even the happy ending. The miracle was the decision, made in a parking lot, by a man who could have kept walking, and a woman brave enough to accept help. That one decision became a catalyst, changed 2 lives, then 2,000, then 20,000, all because someone stopped and truly saw. So here's my question for you. Who are you walking past? Who's fighting a battle you don't see? What opportunity can you create? What kindness can you offer? Because you don't need billions of dollars to change someone's life. You just need to stop, look, see, and care enough to act. That's it. That's the whole message. Sometimes the greatest miracle doesn't begin with millions of dollars. It begins with someone finally stopping and truly seeing the people everyone else walked past. Because in the end, we're all just looking for the same thing. A place called home, and someone who cares enough to help us find it. If this story touched your heart, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, like this video. That simple click helps this story reach someone who needs it today. Second, share it. Post it on your social media. Send it to a friend. Because someone in your life is fighting a battle you don't see, and this might be exactly what helps them hold on. Third, subscribe to Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins and hit that notification bell. Because every week we bring you stories that remind you humanity still exists. That kindness still matters. That your struggles don't define you. And listen, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now. Tell me about a time someone saw you when you felt invisible. Or tell me about a time you stopped and helped someone else. Because those stories matter. They create ripples. They inspire action. They remind us we're all connected. You are not alone in your struggle. You are not invisible. You are seen. You are valued. And your story isn't over. So keep fighting. Keep hoping. Keep believing that better days are coming. Because they are. I promise you they are. This is Echoes of the Heart with Dr. Collins, reminding you that every ending is just a new beginning. And your beginning? It's waiting for you to claim it. Now go out there and be the person who stops, who sees, who cares. Because the world needs more people like Rebecca, more people like Dominic, more people like you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, you matter. Your story matters. And someone out there needs to hear it. Peace.